Let's talk about the news, especially in your city of Montreal. Today, our reporter Alexa Lavoie is out there. There are court orders to remove some of these Hamas encampments. I call them Mein Camp,
I
a
like
pun
that. Yeah.
on Mein Kampf. If only it were funny. You
Mm.
have absolute Jew hatred, anti Semitism, that if it were a KKK camp, if it were white people wearing white Klan hoods screaming about blacks go back to Africa, which is the analog of Jews get out or whatever they're saying, the condemnation would be uniform, complete, instant, and passionate. But shockingly, when it's about Jews, these encampments have gone on for weeks. And I should tell you that the police, when our reporter Alexa Lavoie presented today, the police moved her away. She was going to use a drone camera. The police said, "You do that, we'll fine you $1,000." Meanwhile, the Hamas drone was literally buzzing Alexa so much she could grab it out of the sky. And the police did not. Like, just these are just little examples of authority. You would think that the university authorities would act. You would think that campus security would act. You would think that the police would act. You would think that with a court injunction there would be action. But from the entire establishment, police, politicians, the press, professors, it's just, this is acceptable now. This is the new normal. I find that astonishing.
Yeah, I saw a phrase in a book review earlier today, and it was called the normalization of deviance. And this is what is happening on these encampments. The police, obviously, they're acting according to orders that they're getting from above. They have to answer to the mayor. Well, actually, they don't answer to the mayor so much. She says she can't answer. She can't answer for them. She allows them total freedom. So the top of law enforcement in Montreal has decided on this policy of going very easy. It's a big mistake. I wish they would have taken their cue from what happened in Alberta. I watched your coverage of was it Edmonton or University of Alberta?
Calgary, we had our
Yeah,
reporter Sidney Fazard was in Calgary, and I think he did a great job. And he was on his own there,
yeah.
and he didn't want to get too close because
Mhm.
his knee was injured, and he wanted to be able to. I mean, and these guys have no compunction about being physical. Like they will do what they're inspired by Hamas. They say
Yeah.
resistance. They say one of their slogans is, "You don't get to determine the way we resist," which is their way
Yes.
of saying we'll be violent if we want to. It's
Yeah, on
astonishing.
your property, on
Yeah.
somebody else's property. No, they tried to resist. I thought the police were effective. They kept their cool. They were very calm. They didn't strong arm anybody. They didn't get violent. No need to get violent. They sort of just formed a line and kept pushing with the shields back and back and back until they got I was going to say the students, but I think probably half of them are not students. They're outside agitators. They got them out, and naturally, they got a letter of protest. I think the NCCM was right in there saying, "No, no, this is the police overstepped, and so there's going to be an investigation." But I think they'll survive that because they did their job properly. But the point is, if you keep trying to talk or to argue with these people, they're not going to negotiate. They're not acting in good faith. They're acting in bad faith. And you're absolutely right. If this was any other minority group, um, they wouldn't even have been able to set up those tents in the first place. It's only they'll say it's Zionists, but it's Jews. And we already saw last week when a Jewish professor with an Israeli accent was not allowed access to his office, and they just wouldn't let him pass. And he knew it was because he had an Israeli accent. So this negligence in authority, uh, they're playing with fire. They really are because they're pretty well giving permission to trespass, to keep trespassing, and to keep upping the ante. They're setting the terms, and the authorities are letting them. It's such a huge mistake, as you said. at the beginning. You give an inch, they'll take a mile in the end. You gotta end these things very soon, or they fester and they get worse. We'll see.
Yeah, I have some friends who say, for example, they saw the other day when Hamas supporters were blocking highways. Chicago's airport, New York airport. More recently, they were blocking a highway in Florida that was shut down very quickly. Um, Very inconveniencing things, like they shut down a major highway in Toronto briefly a few weeks ago. And I see people say, oh, that's not persuading anybody. You're not winning hearts and minds. That's not what this is about. This
No.
is about exerting dominance,
Mhm.
showing who the new boss is, moving the Overton window and letting you know that the country you lived in your whole life is not the country you're in now. And the rules that you thought were in place are different now. And who you thought the police listened to and the politics, it's different now. And they're actually like a child looking for a boundary. How far can I go? And in Calgary and Edmonton, they have found that limit. But so far, they have not found that limit in Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal. And I don't think they ever will, because um, show me a political leader of any power who has said a word against it. Other than the National Post and the Toronto Sun and independent media like Rebel News, show me a major French-speaking newspaper that has come out fully against this. Um, and so the Hamas side, which is buttressed by Antifa and hard left-wing activists, um, they are not trying to persuade. They're trying to teach. They're trying to teach you who the new masters are. They're trying to demoralize people like you and me and Jewish students and pro-Canadian, pro-American, pro-Western students. They're trying to exhilarate and encourage their tribe and demoralize the rest of us. And they are absolutely succeeding. And they're retraining the police, aren't they?
I think so. I just wanted to say, by the way, there are not independent. There are writers, for example, the Journal de Montréal and even at La Presse, and on radio shows, who do not fall into line with that pro-Hamas thing. There are anti-Hamas and anti that are, very much standing up for Jews and Zionists,
Well, just
but they're
and Canadians. I mean,
yeah,
I'm a Jew and you're a Jew, so we have a tendency to speak from that identity. But I would have to hope that I would be just as mad if it was the Klan versus black kids.
yeah,
I see this as an anti-Canada thing as much as an
me too. It's
anti-Jewish thing.
anti-democracy. It's anti-West.
Yeah.
It's anti-West, and they won't stop because they also say death to America, and that not at McGill, I don't think, but in the States we've seen them chanting death to the West and death to America. It's kind of interesting. Have you noticed that they're now enacting at some universities that doing Muslim prayers, like bending down and bowing down, and um, some of the women are putting on hijabs and stuff. They're not converting to Islam, but they are indicating that their support is so great for Hamas that they actually are cosplaying Islamic customs and just really a poke in the eye to the West. It's just part of the revolutionary um, activity
Mhm.
that just shows how mindless and crazy they are.